Well, I am Kimbrelle Eugene Trend, the founder and executive director of Refined Community Empowerment, based here in Elpisville, Freetown, St. Rose, Louisiana, which is in St. Charles Parish, and also happens to be a Cancer Alley. So our mission at Refined Community Empowerment is to educate, uplift, and empower individuals through programs and resources that promote personal growth, collective engagement, and positive change in underserved and disadvantaged communities for a more equitable world. RCE was established in the historic community of Elkinsville, Freetown, established by a free man of color in 1873. And RCE advocates for human rights, environmental peace, and promotes civic leadership internationally. So this is St. Rose, it's unincorporated community in St. Charles Parish, as I said before. It sits along the east bank of the Mississippi River and is a part of the region known, of course, as Cancer Alley, a heavily industrialized corridor, a high concentration of petrochemical facilities rooted in rich culture, strong family ties, and deep spiritual traditions. So St. Rose is home to about 7,000 residents who all deserve to breathe clean air and drink clean water and health and environmental peace. So our health and safety concerns here in St. Rose. Legacy pollution. We've had pollution for as long as I can remember, and almost as long as my dad can remember, 1935. An emanation of pollution presently. In St. Charles Parish, we had an overabundance of chemical plants and grain elevators, and the storage facility, the International Mid-Sex Take Terminal, sits right on our fence line here. IMTT has encroached upon the community. The storage tanks are right at our doorsteps. You could throw a baseball and hit one of those tanks. We have no community monitoring. Harmful chemicals are not being monitored. We know that a lot of these chemicals are, so we deserve to know what type of chemicals we're breathing on a regular basis.
IMTT met with the pastor of the church, and he agreed that it can put the monitor on the ground so that we can have the monitor in this area. Because they want it closer to the highway. And although he brought it to the competition, but he said he could do it. So he already got that boom what.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that, DT. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that. Thank you for sharing that information. It's very important. So no community monitoring right now. So as the MPs were saying that ITT is partnering with Louisiana Environmental Action Network to break what Dr. Kimberly Terrell calls a sensor and not quite a monitor. And it's solar powered, which is not very reliable. And also they want to measure the total VOCs, volatile organic compounds, and not the specific ones that we know are coming from ITT. But it's good that they're going to put those levels here so you can see, yeah, we're getting the chemicals, so we know that. So thank you for sharing that. And we also have a threat of a proposed ammonia plant with Carbon Capture and Sequestration. That St. Charles P use. I'm going to move this rather quickly. As you can see, the facility has grown exponentially since 1923. And here it is in 2018. Presently, there are 216 tanks that are right over here trying to over our community. We had residents to stand up for the community and to let their voices be heard, say that there is a horrible, noxious chemical fuel that comes into their homes. This was in 2014. And they were also advocating for community monitoring. So it's not just Elkins Hill, Freetown, where we are right now, that's being affected. Anyone who drives or walks along this beautiful levee here, they're smelling the chemicals from IMTT. And not only are they smelling these chemicals, they give these chemicals into their bodies. There's also a community right on the west side of the facility. And we're hit very hard here on the fixed line on both sides. Elkisville, Freetown, Preston Hollow, which is right over here. And then also Oak Lawn Ridge, which is also right on the fence line on the other side. So we have people of all colors. This is not just about Black justice or environmental justice just for Black people. It may have started out that way. It may have. But in harmfully, and it affects absolutely all colors and all walks of life. So you can see here how close this tank is to this community. It's a giant. No community monitoring. LTE actually took our monitor. These are some of the chemicals that were while the monitor was being done in cycles. And now, of course, we have no community monitoring because LGEQ is under problem by virtue quality to monitor. I was empowered to monitor with 2 solar canisters, and the findings showed a lot of carcinogens and other chemicals that are very, very harmful to human life. Ethanol, acetone, toluene, benzene, hexane, heptane, and many more. So some of the known complications or implications of breathing these chemicals: benzene causes leukemia, lung cancer, lymphoma, asthma, disorders of the blood, the immune system, can hard bakes and wound. Naphthalene is known to be a chemical that is very prevalent that comes from IMTT. It causes cancer of the lung, nose, throat, and or colon cancer, cataracts, lung problems, asthma, anemia, and also affects the unborn babies. Formaldehyde, known to cause throat, nose, sinus cancer, leukemia, breathing problems, eye irritation, increases risk of miscarriages. Polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons, PAHs, are a group of chemicals known to cause cancer, especially lung, skin, and bladder cancer, can damage the kidneys and brain, can cause male infertility, low birth weight, miscarriage, and birth defects. ITT has shown itself to not be responsible. It had fires in July 2020, June of 2022, and April of 2023. These are the incidents that we're aware of. The EPA also fined IMTT in July of 2024. So just to make things clear about the monitoring, IMTT mentioned to some of us residents that there's this wonderful monitor that monitors air in Richmond, California. It was the Richmond Chevron monitor. And I later found out that IMTT actually has a facility in Richmond, California. This monitor measures many of the chemicals that are stored and emitted from IMTT. This Richmond monitor is a gold standard 24-hour real-time monitor of medical post-specific DLCs. But this is not what IMTT is saying that they're going to bring to our community. So when they say that they're monitoring, I want you to be informed, to be able to tell people, yes, but this is not the best that they can do for us here. It's not as good as what they have at their small IMTT facility in Richmond, California. They have 33 takes in Richmond and 216 here, but they are going to monitor the specific cues that they know are being emitted. So this is similar to what they want to bring to us. Okay? Again, solar powered panels. So sometimes we don't get sun. We don't get sunlight. So we need a reliable monitor. So we've had public hearings. They used to two environmental law clinic. This one was the first one with Louisiana Department of Energy and Natural Resources. This one, it is the second that was with LTEQ. That one was shut down by the fire department because of the overcrowding, the large interest that people had in terms of this ammonia plant that's being proposed here in Hopkins. The hearing was rescheduled. We had that one. I don't know why it's not rolling in Joshua. I don't know where Joshua is. So we are also partnering with other organizations like the Louisiana Just Recovery Network to bring resources to our St. Louis community. We help to put roofs on a lot of some of the homes here in St. Louis, and this is a house that he connected the toilet in her poop with here in St. Louis. Josh Bishop represents it. So we're doing a lot of work. Let's see, did he play this touch? We have to get us to play. Oh, yeah, mom? We have a video that we want to share with you. And this video, it just shows some of the work that we're doing here in Hanson Alley, as well as what we're doing in Africa.
Yes. Can I ask a question about, about the gold standard?
Okay, and you will just hold your person. Let's kind of get this going, and then I'll take some questions.
Okay. Selesai. Gitu. Wih. Arctic. Yes. Just tell me.
Raw. Svako to go extend balls.
Listen, pollution is not acceptable. None at all. You take cancer, you know. And so, it's a Lucius, right? We need you to stop police here. LA and the people as victims. Stop police. No ammonia plant in St. Louis. None. Nada. Sit. Kill. Oyarifa is a vibrant community in Greater Accra region of Ghana, Africa. Families work hard to build a better future. As the village grows, key resources like education, healthcare, and clean water remain a need. The local school requires essential supplies, the clinic lacks vital medical equipment, and access to clean water is limited. Without community empowerment, the corporated a 501c3 nonprofit organization is committed to uplifting communities like Yarafan by providing the resources they need to thrive. With your support, we can equip the school, strengthen the clinic, and fund a water well to ensure lasting impact. Together, we can help Oyaripa continue to grow and prosper. I am Kimbrelle Eugene, a founder and executive director of Refined Community Empowerment based in Louisiana and the United States of America. You may visit refinedcommunityempowerment.org to donate. Thank you for your support. Thank you, Joshua. So that was some of the work that we're doing abroad, that we're in a capacity to do abroad. Yes. So we're asking for your support here and there because we're doing great things for about Greek. We also have a program called Campfire, Families Involved in Respect and Empowerment. It's a civic leadership program. And we're meeting on Saturdays, starting a couple weeks ago through here. If you have any students, any children who are ages 8 to 14, please let us know. We'll be happy to serve them and help them on their leadership journey. And of course, not only work with children and youth, we also work with and no what we have been papers. Okay, wait. So you have a question? Thank you.
Yeah, it's about the gold standard monitors. Those would have an app, right? Where it kind of reports what's in the air so that anybody in the area could see it and could even create a record of like what days what was going on, right? So for those of us with chronic illness, we could double track it against the days that we're feeling particularly bad and use it to report. So the gold standard monitors would be incredibly not just IMTT, all of the plants in our area should be required to provide this kind of monitoring if they're truly good neighbors in the area.
Absolutely. So it's his cut that our whole standard monitor is 24 hours of real time monitoring. So we go online, gets right now, and see what's going on and receive for.
Right, for them, not for us though.
Good for them, but not for us. So why isn't it good enough for us? So almost oh happy. Thank you. I have another question. So with Erica, I need you to please talk here, man. Would you please? Scott Valley required to put in this element. This water bottle. Okay. Then I'll come up and get spacey. La. Take a get on microphone. Thank you. I'm asking what kind of monitors are they that they wanted to put in big potato. What kind of what do you want to do? Okay. So
The state of Louisiana, sorry, I'm going to be speaking in just a minute. My name is Jane Patton. I'm with the Center for International Environmental Law. Believe it or not, I grew up about 40 miles from here and live just about 20 miles in the other direction. The state of Louisiana actually does not require that any of these facilities have fence line monitors. There's a set of monitors that are, I believe, mandated by state law and maintained by Department of Environmental Quality at state level. But for the entire state of Louisiana, there's fewer than 50 year monitors. for the entire state. And so they are not actually required to monitor or publicly report any ammunition. There is information that they are required to support the federal government when it comes to releases. Every single one of these claims is proven. Someone need to emit a certain number of certain the pollutants, especially the ones that are the most toxic. And they are supposed to report to the federal government when they go over those limits. And every now and then the EPA, in its previous incarnation, in its previous form,
To power in that they go from the layer, when we don't have the right part for humans. So it is community part of it. It's in the Dolgan Mountain.
at the very least, I would say that beyond just the issue of monitoring, these facilities should not be putting toxic chemicals into the air. I think, like, at the very least, we need to be preventing the addition of more toxic chemicals into the air, and we need to know what they're putting in the air. And right now, there isn't any requirement that they can back. Not for us, the public.
So that's really all, Erica. So this is Erica Bolden, admitted must occur as legal away. So I just want to stand up. It's very party. So I'd love for y'all to give Nikki a hand because she stood with and she bobbed it popper at the awful. So if you would, I'm just gonna give you the mic and it's this talk briefly about what it was that you helped to do back in 2014.
Okay. I'm not real of a focus.
Erica, I grew up where dear man. Yes, a very nice.
Acting candy smell. No one y'all can remember that. Years ago. There was a really foul 80s smell. I don't know if you guys live in several remember that. It was a very loud odor. 80s smell. Most of us got sick behind it. And that smell and that it was coming from IMTT point. So what we did is we came up with a committee, which we called ourselves, which was Severus Community One Voice. And when I mean one voice, it means it wasn't just my voice, wasn't just your voice, it wasn't just your voice, it was everybody's voice to be heard. Along with Bucket Brigade and General Ireland. We went to Washington. We went to the Capitol. Other places. We had news people come out or whatever. We needed our voice heard. We needed them to stop this smell. They would tell us it was coming from there. It would tell us that it came from the ship that was coming in. There's so much other days that he was just trying to ignore. There's some oily place in Bearing Quarter. And I was sharing with Kim. Just like the smell or whatever. It don't take as Kim, me, this one, or that one to do it. We have to start complaining. They have to hear our voice. It don't take me to call, this Kim call, this lady right here call, the real core 5 people call, and that's it. If the community, St. Rose community, I'm not just talking Aldenville, not just Person Holler, I'm talking going on ranch, the whole St. Rose community. It's going to take all of us. You have to see question. Could I please mistake it? Did you experience what the year? Or you reminded the world about these scrubs map? They do it quick.
I can hear you. That also finished for 1 second.
So what we have to do is if we smell something, because it's not we talking of all your black, but of course we still smelling this smell. We still smelling this. So we have to report this. I'm sure it's Kim. I don't know if you see it. Do you have the numbers to report? Do anybody know the numbers to report?
We have the numbers. Joshua is doing this.
What do you need to call in to report if you hear where you spell something? Yes, even at nighttime, I don't know. By me, if it's so close, sometimes we get a lot of bang at night, like a lot of banging or whatever. That stuff needs to be reported. If we do, it don't take 5 of us reading everybody. When you smell it, when they're not gonna discover, they're not gonna see right now. They kind of like ignoring us because it's like 5 people, so they're gonna say we the bad app. Don't bother us. Complaining, 3 complainants is the same 5 people just complaining. But when they start seeing and start hearing with other people, start getting involved, then they're gonna start doing things. So let's get involved as a community. I know I have now, let me speak for me. I haven't been doing the thing that I need to do, or even then I can't tell you guys to do anything about my business. And the only reason why I haven't is because other things, I have a lot on my plate. Everybody, many of y'all know that I had cancer, I came to ministry, but I've been doing a lot of things with God wives. So let's get on one accord and everybody, not just 5 of us, everybody. Start doing what we need to do to take care of several communities.
Very important. Thank you. Please, wow. We want to keep singing because we need your voice. We need your voice. So we do KT here. Send the messages, send your marching orders, and we want totally involved and all about render this. Let's see what else we have. Still, I'm sorry. Hey, Barry, you had a question?
Yeah, to say, to alert everyone when they smell, like you smell it, it is either the number, phone number, or something that you can call also. So yes, you do it.
Yes, I will also email it again. I will email it again. All about flyers and doing our canvassing. The community will put that information on as well. So yeah.
And when you do complain and when you do send it out, what you do is tell them what kind of smell it is. You tell them what time to smell it, what time. And they're gonna ask you your address. They're gonna come out, which is the fire department might come out. So don't be like, oh no, I ain't want to. The police might come out. Even IMTT, you might see them around in the area. So if you got to call 10 times a day, if you still smell it, call 10 times. And when you do, you dial the LDEQ, IMTT. I don't know if you remember at one time what they wanted us to do before we called the LDEQ, they wanted us to call them directly. So they can kind of like come out, but when it comes, they might say, oh, we don't smell nothing. Oh, whatever. But they don't want us to report it to the LDEQ. They wanted to keep it like an inside thing.
Enforce the monitor take me had monitored at one point around.
We even had the truck.
Right.
Those servers were removed.
And was not aware that they were,
Because they're not legally required.
well, they probably wondered, but should have spoke us, let us know that they were.
And it's bad that they're not legally required. That's my point. They should be legally required.
And that's why we need to take advantage of the fact that IMTT is trying to blow smoke in our face, saying that they're going to bring a monitor. So Arab the Bolden, Dickie Zarain, was in that meeting that I was in when IMTT showed us the gold standard monitor that was here on the screen that I showed you. So it's up to us and pressure those of us who are on the CAP, Community Advisory Panel, to break this issue up and don't settle for less. We need to make sure that we push for the same type of monitor that is monitoring the people's air in Richland, California, where there is a smaller IMTT facility. Yeah, put up with that. And as Erica said, it cannot be 1, 2, 3, 5 feet on the ground. It needs to be collectively. Everyone set the exact same date. We have information on our website, so we could just QR code to go on the website, get information. Also, to make sure, Joshua, to make sure that we have the information to file the reports. Okay, so the reports with St. Charles Parish, EOC, St. Charles Parish Emergency Operations Center. We call them. They're reporting, and it goes into the parish president's office that there are reports about these emissions that we're getting in our homes. We're not just smelling these chemicals and getting these poisons in our community. These poisons are entering many of our homes. We don't have much time, but Joshua, we had that video of our husband who spoke some years ago, who was also standing with Sector Community Convoy. And we spoke with his widow, and she said that she's still smelling chemicals in her home. So if we could quickly show that. After that video, very important video, we're going to turn it over to Taylor Hodge and Jane Patton. And I'm going to have you to introduce yourself. Who would? I got whatever. EMZ even not that. So this
Y'all were asking about how to report an incident or a chemical spill, and I found the phone number for the St. Charles Parish Emergency Operations Center that Miss Kim just referenced. So if you wanted to take the phone number down, it's 985-783-5050. That's 985-783-5050. No, that's the Parish Emergency Operations Center. And you can call that 24 hours a day. And you can report it online to them and to the DEQ. So Department of Environmental Quality.
Yeah, could you prove that, Jane? There were another twist after, and I have to see that for and think about maybe 10 minutes each. Right, that's okay. Four. Oh wait. Oh. So we'll make sure everyone has patio with a Angelo there also. So thank you, Jane. All right, I'm gonna turn it on to you, Zane. Ray's gonna tell us about Ammonia, and Jane is gonna talk to us about carbon capture storage. 783-5050. You can say I'm a race, you said. Oh, so then delete the search code.
So hi everyone, my name is Taylor Hodge. I went in CIEL, which is the Center for International Environmental Law. And I'm here to speak to say about Ammonia. And please, if you have questions, keep them in mind and we will go ahead and topic Q&A and Kyereh. So, without further ado, this is Ammonia, Illuminating Urgent Spread, or Louisiana. You are connected. So we're going to go ahead and grab ourselves in some history. So this is the phenomenon of the plantation to plant economy. So we're starting off here in 1853. You can see on this line how all of these slivers represent different plantations. Of course, this is where enslaved people were exploited for their labor on their bodies. And these commodities that were grown and traded were sent along the Mississippi so that boat owners could profit. And so the legacy of this is seen today in the way that plants are operating and still exploiting the bodies of people in these areas. But as Ms. Kimbrelle said, it's not just Black people in these communities who are impacted. Everyone is impacted by this pollution as it is getting into the air, as it is getting into the water. But we should all be concerned, of course, for the human life of everyone, but for ourselves as well.
So continuing to ground us in this history, but unfortunately to continue this somewhat dark web that we are weaving, we go into the explosive history of ammonia and emotionally tragic also history of ammonia. So ammonia was first synthesized in 1909 by German chemists. Because ammonia is so nitrogen rich, that's a very important nutrient for plants to grow. And so the reason that they were working to synthesize ammonia is because before they were actually using bird poop, something that is very nitrogen rich for plants, in case of gardeners will know. But they were running out of this bird poop, and so they moved on to the chemical synthesization of ammonia. I'm going to go ahead and skip a bit here, but one of the chemists, Fritz Ehler, received the Nobel Prize in Chemistry for, quote, making bread out of thin air. But there were also really terrible consequences. This was used both as a fertilizer and also as an explosive during World War I. And then Capers' own work in making ammonia and also other chemical weapons was later used on his own family members in gas chambers during the Holocaust. And so there are many historical connections both to one of the most horrific atrocities against humanity of slavery, also to the Holocaust with ammonia and with the plantation to plant colonies. Continuing on with this, ammonium nitrate, which is a derivative of the chemical ammonia, is a common fertilizer and has been the cause for deadly explosions and even terrorist attacks. We have here the West Texas explosion in 2013, here the Oklahoma City bombing in 1995, and here Kyereh blast in 2020. Hundreds of people died during these explosions altogether, and even more for injured. Along with that, ammonia itself, regardless of derivative, is incredibly toxic and can be deadly. Right here, we got the example, this was quite recently, so in 2023, an ammonia and an anhydrous ammonia truck crashed, and the release of the ammonia actually killed a young family, and in total 5 people, and 500 people in the surrounding area had to be evacuated. When you think about the size of a truck and how much ammonia is in that, think about how small that is compared to the millions of metric tons per year that are going to be produced at huge facilities like the St. Charles EPs. Similarly, fertilizer facilities making ammonia have released horrible amounts of ammonia into waterways, which have destroyed fish life, which of course, especially for Louisiana, is very important as the fishing economy here is culturally and economically highly relevant. Now that we are past some of the history, I'm going to briefly share about how ammonia is made. Don't worry, this will not be too in-depth. But essentially, most ammonia, especially the U.S., is made of, quote, natural gas, what I like to call fossil gas. The fossil gas is essentially methane. So the methane is blasted with steam through a process called steam methane reforming, and that splits the methane into hydrogen and carbon dioxide. The carbon dioxide we'll get into later during Jay's presentation, but focusing in on the hydrogen, that hydrogen is then mixed with nitrogen from the airs, and that's how you get ammonia, which is NH3, nitrogen methane. Moving on to today, this is from an analysis that CIEL organization did called Emissions Unleashed. What it looked at is the proposed build-out of petrochemical facilities across the U.S. What we saw is that the majority of big ambitions from these proposed facilities is coming from a handful of mega projects. So that's that multi-billion-dollar project that you are seeing build out across the country. But from there, we saw that actually 5 of these facilities were ammonia facilities. So we are looking at a massive build out that is specifically on ammonia, although there are other petrochemical plastics involved. Something you might have noticed if you have a keen eye on the other slide is that even though they are ammonia facilities, they're not necessarily being called ammonia facilities. They might be called clean or blue hydrogen, in y'all's case, clean fuel. They might be called fertilizer facilities, and they might be called clean energy facilities. So why is ammonia both in disguise? Today, 80% of ammonia is used for fertilizers. So that's global production. Vast majority is for fertilizers. Other applications are industrial. There's ammonia cleaning products, etc. Of course, explosives, as unfortunately you mentioned before. But there is a huge projected increase in what industries think they will be using ammonia for. So not just fertilizer, but also, as you can see in the light blue, for shipping. They mean literally using ammonia as a fuel for big ships, which is not currently done. That's a speculative demand for them. And also as a hydrogen carrier, of course, as we shared before, there's hydrogen and ammonia, or for power generation. But you can see, this is 2030, all of this is coming really afterwards. So they're not currently using ammonia for any of these things, but industry is looking to make it and moving in that direction. So literally, these companies and their government allies are sacrificing Louisiana communities to greenwash their own image. So when we talked about the CO2 before, the carbon dioxide that is released during the ammonia production process, these companies are saying that they can capture the carbon and that makes them projects clean, green, low carbon, what have you. Other than the fundamental lie about carbon capture and storage, which Jane will get into more, the fact that they are pulling anything clean that is severely threatening communities and negatively impacting human life and health is incredibly deserving. But we see on their own websites, this is Copenhagen Infrastructure Partners. This is the big investor on the St. Charles Fuels project. Quote, blue ammonia is an additional clean energy source, which it's not, I just want to be clear, which will play an essential role in easing and accelerating that transition. It's really important that we think about the narrative that they are shaping on this because they are putting these projects in the U.S., specifically in the Gold South, but not even for the Gold South. They are selling this abroad to Asian and European markets so that those countries can say, look at us, we're being so green, we're being so clean, while bodies here are being polluted. I will add an additional map. I think sometimes it's better when we visualize it, but here, IMTT, St. Charles Fuels, these are all proposed ammonia facilities or existing facilities. There's also other impacts and like huge, this is like a huge amount of fertilizer. So just look how all these communities along the Mississippi River are being impacted all the way into this corner. And of course, there's more. And these are just ammonia or fertilizer related facilities. We're not even talking about all the other petrochemicals, all the other plastics. And so when I believe it was Miss Erica was talking about getting organized, getting your community organized, and so passionately put that. And also all of these other communities that are suffering too, who can come together and be powerful against governments, your own governments that are selling you out so that other countries can say they're big. I will just add, this is from the industry themselves, saying where they're planning to send this clean ammonia. And we can see it in the partnerships that's happening with these companies. We're seeing Asian companies partnering. We're seeing, of course, Copenhagen Infrastructure Partners, European companies partner. Another quote, I will skip to the end. This opens up to global markets, and there are significant opportunities for blue ammonia in Europe and Asia. We really need to take opportunities for who? Who is benefiting? Certainly not people here, and certainly not when y'all's tax dollars are going to go into propping up these companies so they can pollute and make money abroad. comes through to the end of stuff. Well, a really important last piece here too is that, of course, ammonia is a threat across the board, but it is a serious threat to oceans and waterways. And that's a major concern, especially since for coastal, they're going to be sending it abroad, like across the ocean, across the Mississippi. We already see fertilizer, ammonia-based fertilizer, haunting waterways and harming oceans. Have any of y'all fishers or have experienced algae blooms? Yes? Okay. When fertilizers get into waterways, this builds up the algae in these deposit sets, and the algae can become incredibly toxic, killing off fish. Even sometimes hear about people's dogs getting into algae-filled lakes and dying. This is a threat to children as well. And of course, it adds extra costs to your local water because the algae is so toxic they have to filter out. We already have a dead zone in the Gulf of Mexico, which is heavily fed into by fertilizers from the Midwest and fertilizers used across the country. This here, y'all, is literally thousands of cubic miles of no life, no fish, no life, just dead ocean. This is incredibly disturbing when you think about what should be thriving the industries in these areas. And imagine a huge boat running on ammonia, full of ammonia, releasing it, crashing, sinking, and all of that getting into water and sterilizing it. I will just say a few things specifically about the St. Charles Fumex facility. I've already talked about COVID Infrastructure Partners, one of the future investors. Of course, this is a day plant for 4.6 billion. I want to talk about some of the chemicals that they are planning to release, so toxic air pollutants. Of course, ammonia, which they'll be making incredibly toxic, but then also probable carcinogens, including benzene, formaldehyde. Now, this is not something that, as Ms. Kimbrelle said, you want in your house, in your nearby. These should not be released at all here. And of course, the plants to send this abroad. Okay. I will go ahead and pass to Jay down. Thank you. Thank you, Taylor. And I'm actually going to go back, and I want to point out this back down here that they were doing, which is they are explaining that they are going to be able to capture the carbon dioxide that is coming out of this facility. Taylor explained that the way that you make ammonia out of methane is you take the hydrogen and the carbon molecules that are in the methane, you break it by applying very hot steam to it. Steam, of course, which is hydrogen and oxygen's water. You break that molecule open, and when you break it open, it releases the carbon combined with the oxygen from the water into the, and that's what creates carbon dioxide. Now, down here in Louisiana, we have been inundated with carbon dioxide emissions on top of the air emissions, like the one that Taylor just named, the ones that are probable or no carcinogens that are being put out into the air. We are being inundated with these chemicals, and we have wildly ineffective monitors to actually be able to know what is in the air and know how it affects our health. I'm sure most of y'all have actually been told repeatedly that your health problems have nothing to do with the facilities that are nearby. I'm sure you've all been told repeatedly, or you've seen the paperwork from this facility that claims that they're going to be a good neighbor, that they're going to be clean. It's right there in the name. And that they're going to be fine, as say Creole. And part of how they're able to claim that is because they are planning to capture the carbon. They call the facility a blue ammonia. That is a relatively new term. There are also green ammonia facilities. There are also white ammonia facilities and gray and brown ammonia facilities. There's also a rainbow of different kinds of ammonia and hydrogen.
Taylor talked about how you go from breaking the hydrogen carbon and then that releases the CO2 and it makes ammonia. There is hydrogen. I'm sorry, and it makes the hydrogen that then gets mixed with nitrogen. Even I don't get the chemistry right all the time. There is, in order to make ammonia, we have to first make hydrogen, which means every single one of these facilities is producing both ammonia and hydrogen. And both of those chemicals are combustible and toxic. And so we are concerned about that just on its face. But we also need to be concerned about the carbon that they're capturing, because the carbon dioxide that's being captured is itself also a harmful gas. And that is something that we have to be aware of, because on top of these facilities where they're planning to build up, right? So St. Charles Clean Fuels, it's going to be a huge industrial site. I think it's over 100 acres, if I saw right on the previous slide. That doesn't include all of the carbon management infrastructure.
Oh, just looking for.
We'll stop you. That 100+ acre footprint does not include CO2 pipelines. It does not include CO2 induction wells. All of these things are things that we will also be exposed to, and we need to be aware of that. So I want to talk a little bit about Carbon Capture and Storage, because this is also a massive build out that we are facing inside Belize. It's not just a kind of facilities. It is also hundreds of miles of view pipeline and dozens of new kinds of injection wells on top of the injection wells of your RVD. So when you hear the words carbon capture and storage, you should think of 3 phases. Where the carbon is hatched, there's how it's moved, and then there's where it's injected underground. And every time, I spent so long today trying to find the right diagram right here. Every time you see a diagram of the industry about carbon capture and storage, that's it. What's so cute? There's a cute little oil carrying and a cute little facility. And yeah, there's a little cloud over that facility, but it's such a cute one. And what they're not actually showing you is that is an industrial facility that is permitted by the government to emit carcinogenic chemicals into the air. It is permitted to emit cancer-causing substances. And cancer, of course, is not the only thing we have to be worried about. We're worried about aerosol, we're worried about eczema, we're worried about all sorts of things. Not to mention water quality around here. So that, the capture point, is where what is actually toxic industrial facility. Then we have the transportation. Most of that CO2 is going to be transported across South Louisiana in a pipeline. And no, these are national pipelines. These pipelines are bigger than any of the pipelines we had to deal with before. Some of them are talking about pipelines that are up to 48 inches the diameter, just to carry CO2. And that CO2 is kept in that pipeline at a highly pressurized state. Which means if a pipeline fails, and they will fail, and when they fail catastrophically. They rip down, like a seat down the pipeline. And God forbid that pipeline is near another pipeline, is, as y'all know, lots of pipelines share the same rights of way. You see them all lined up together. If a CO2 pipeline bursts and all that CO2 comes out, CO2 is highly corrosive. It's also coming out at an extreme amount of force. I'm going to show you a really troubling video at the end of this presentation. You can see exactly what I'm talking about. That CO2 could cause failures in other pipelines nearby that could cause a cascading domino effect. And when we talked in the industry and when we talked to state regulators about this, they literally talked to us like, you're stupid. They talk to us like we have no idea what we're talking about. Like, this is not a real threat. And it is very much a real threat. And then the third part, so we covered where they capture the carbon, how they move the carbon, and the third part of our facing Louisiana is injection. Now, they want to call that something cute, like storage. Where's storage? But when you look at this, you see this well that goes underground.
That well is not going into a controlled tank. It's just a hole in the ground. It's a deep hole in the ground, but it's a hole in the ground. And I don't know about y'all, but I burned up my whole life in the geography of Louisiana, understanding that ground is real movable and porous. And it doesn't necessarily keep everything in all the time, which means that they are drilling these wells, these carbon injection wells. We could chop all they want about the steel that's used in the injection well and what goes down into the ground. But once they put it under the cat rock, it's just voucher. And as we see in Norway, in Illinois, in a very small handful of places, in fact, Norway, Illinois, and Australia are the only 3 places that I know of that are actually injecting carbon like this. The carbon is moving underground in ways that they did not anticipate and did not accept. Scientists are increasingly saying that it is not possible to predict where the carbon dioxide will go, which means that there is an injection well, even if it's a mile from you. And that carbon moves underground. It could move into a drinking water source. It could move into soil. It could move anywhere. In fact, the thing they don't show in this mall is all of the other hundreds of wells that are already there. Wells that are designed to put things down, not to keep up or coming up. Which means if the carbon dioxide plume moves around and it finds a fissure or another well, it's going to come up. And if it comes up and it disperses into the air at a very high concentration, there is a very real possibility that people nearby will be harmed. Seriously harmed. In Satarsh, Mississippi, which is a very small town in Yazoo County, which is just a few miles over where my dad grew up, in 2020, there was a rainstorm. We don't have those in Louisiana, right? Rainstorm. It was a joke. So there was a rainstorm, big as a pint. And it created mud. And it moved the land around us, the existing CO2 highline. There aren't very many of them in the U.S., but there's a few. One of them cuts through South Louisiana and South Mississippi. And when it moved the mud, that pipeline shifted. And when it shifted, it cracked. And the CO2 was released. And dozens of people had to go to the hospital. People didn't understand what was happening because CO2 doesn't smell like anything. You can't see it. You can't smell it. Just all of a sudden, they could breathe. There were harrowing 911 calls of a mother trying to call on behalf of her daughter who appears to be having a seizure. She's not having a seizure. She's literally being deprived of oxygen in the air because that's what CO2 does. What CO2 also does is it floods combustion engines, which means fire trucks and the ambulances can't get it to the people to pump them because those engines need oxygen. And if the CO2 is displacing the oxygen, they can't get there. This is a very serious risk and a huge danger that they're putting all of us under. And they are acting like this is no big deal. And what is driving this is money. All of it. The money for carbon capture and storage from the federal government is what is driving ammonia buildup. They are only able to build those ammonia facilities if they get the money for capturing the carbon and storing it underground. And the U.S. government, us, the U.S. public, stands to pay almost $3 trillion before I'm done paying the mortgage on my house just for carbon capture and storage. And that's only an estimate. Well, there's actually no limit on how much money. But there's limit on how long they be paying the ready store, and I have a trying. And right now, the government is up there in Washington fighting over whether or not they're going to keep these tax cuts in the budget bill. And so far, there are members of both parties willing to keep these tax cuts at the expense of Medicaid, health care, food programs. This is more important to them. And this no doubt is more step. This is a nationwide rollout. Louisiana is a target because we have a lot of petrochemicals here, because we have regulators here who's dealing with the oil and gas industry, and because we have what one LSU report from 2018 called a willing public who will stand aside and let this happen. They were wrong in 2018 and they're wrong today. Because we will not stand aside and let this happen. You can't see Lake Charles on this map because of how much they intend to build out the guard pipeline, their CO2 pipelines, the little circles, our CO2 sources. We cannot let this be built out in Louisiana. It is all being driven by money from the federal government. Something we also don't usually know in Louisiana, and which is unusual, we've actually had a state law that allows for carbon capture and storage since 2009. They passed that law before carbon capture and storage was ever a thing any of us worried about. That is how much they anticipated this. And that law says that these companies can fill a well, an injection well, full of carbon dioxide. They can put a cap on it, tell the state they're done putting carbon dioxide in it, and then the state will assume full liability for that well. And when I say the state, who do I mean? Us. That is a subsidy. That is us taking on the cost of these injection wells, which are made of the oil and gas industry's waste products. We are paying them to collect their waste and inject it under our homes. I'm not here for that. And I know none of us are here. I want to end, this is going to be, but it's going to, there we go. This might be loud before you press play. This is a video of a controlled test of a CO2 pipeline, the kind of pipeline they want to run hundreds of miles of across the whole South. This is a controlled test.
This video was sure very headspace carbon dioxide pipeline. Expert Sudupti, second virus, the DFEGL, smear testing and research center to assess the consequences, solutions, hostile waste pollution, the discuss dispersion, the duration out, the extended municipal put, and still represent the experience discuss. Fan up issue.
That is a controlled test of an 8-inch CRG highlight. They want to put those next to our poems. It's not just ammonia. Ammonia is not enough. It's that they want to run these dangerous highlines next to our homes so that they can inject a waste product under our earth. And that is not paying. So I want to end on a positive note, though, which is we are winning. I know it doesn't seem like it, but CIEL is a member of the coalition in Louisiana called Louisiana Advanced Salt Solutions. And we have been organizing for 3 years now to stop this carbon capture and storage build out. There's a couple more members here of that group. There are people like Ms. Kimbrelle who's been organizing us on a strategy to stop the ammonia build out. And maybe those two strategies might become accurate. I've known Mr. Larry back there for a number of years trying to stop the petrochemical build out. And all of these things are connected because they're all the same companies. So we've been pushing back against the Louisiana wanted to do this because make no mistake, it is our government that actively wants to do this. They are going out and recruiting these hundreds. Louisiana very recently was granted the authority to issue permits for these wells. They were granted that authority 18 months later than they wanted it because we push and held them to account. They still got it, but they had to have a really tight permit in order to get it.
And to this day, there is not right now a single injection well receiving carbon dioxide in this state. And they wanted to have these things up and running years ago. And that is all to say that local organizing works. People knowing what they have planned, people talking to their elected officials at the local level and the state level can work to stop these facilities. We heard about this Arabs work earlier. The Formosa Plastics plant was trying to get built years ago. It's still not online. The Air Products facility, which is an ammonia plant that you were just talking about, just announced the other day that they no longer have faith they're going to be able to build that facility. And that's huge. And part of their calculation is because we made the fight and they didn't like it. And that's what we have to do here. And it is possible. There's a couple of, not only could we do things like demand hearings and submit comments on these permits, we can also go where local elected officials, or at least Parish actually currently has on the books a moratorium, which is a temporary pause, and it is pause on all CCS infrastructure. So you can build a CO2 pipeline in Onion Search. There are a couple of other parishes that would be able to do that also. So you get Patton's Kyereh level laws that say you don't want this here. Your Kyereh level officials would go to the Louisiana legislature and say, we don't want this here. Y'all, was not a party line issue. There's a lot of Democrats who support carbon capture and storage. And there's a lot of Democrats who don't. And there's a lot of Republicans who support carbon capture and storage. And there's a lot of Republicans who don't. This is not a party line issue. This is an issue of whether or not we are going to let our state and federal government pay the oil and gas industry to make us less safe. I don't invite y'all out. I'm not going to stand for that as long as we can gather together and stand up and say, no, this is what we have to fight. And it isn't up for that, because right now, with some people, carbon capture and storage is popular because they like the oil and gas industry. And with some people, it's popular because they think, and I haven't even said this word yet, they think it's going to be a climate solution. And we even covered that when you capture the carbon from an ammonia facility and you hypochemize it down and put it in a pipeline and you run it to that pipeline and then you inject it underground, that process uses more carbon than if you just burn the mech. It is not even a climate solution. 3 years ago, you were fighting against carbon capture and storage because well-meaning people working on climate thought that, if we just capture it, we just gonna filter on it, it will be okay. And that is never true. And now we're fighting against development that is very supportive of the oil and gas industry. And it's the end of the day, carbon capture and storage is always in a cash route and subsidy to the oil and gas. That's all it is. And that's what we have to pay. Sorry, all about.
Thank you, Taylor and Jane. All right, Miss CIEL. Center Owner for International Environmental Law. All right. So, BC, what we're up against. So, we had systems that we're fighting. Systems. And so the individuals, like our parish president, he's a part of a system, a provincial system, who is for CCS, carbon capture storage. Okay, so I was going to share with you an article that was in the Herald and Naughty, May 8th, 2025. Parish President Matthew Jewell said he decided to make a public Facebook post detailing his support for carbon capture and sequestration after misinformation about a local project circulated. With us alarming people, Jewell said, of the misinformation, I was starting to get messages from residents, so it felt like our responsibility had been met with the company and knowing about the project. So at least talk about the things that I know are true. All right, I'm going to get to He says a lot. So I'm going to share this with you all in the email. So make sure that you leave your email address with you. And it's one we can text it to you. Hold it to the top of this real good point. This is something that he said. When folks are playing off of people's lack of knowledge about this, Jules said, we don't expect the average resident to know the requirements for a Class 6 belt. He blames who he called radical environmentalists for the misinformation expressed that efforts to tie CCS projects to liberal politics is misleading. This is in quotes. These environmentalists are the ones who are supporters of the Green New Deal, he said. It's important to know why they jump on carbon capture. It's not because they think it's unsafe. It's because at the end of the day, it goes upon oil and gas to exist. It just comes down to these people are anti-industry, anti-jobs. Jules said that CCS technology would help to expand the life of the oil and gas industry and keep companies competitive on the global market. But he said even industries unrelated to oil and gas are incorporating CCS technology. More folks. There is a demand for CCS, Jules said. I met with a company who wants to do business in St. Charles Parish that is not related to chemicals or oil and gas. It would be a totally new manufacturing facility. And they talked about doing carbon capture as part of it because it allows them to bring their product to market in Europe. And Europe has set a minimum standard on carbon emission. No. We are not a bubble, he said. And as a state, we need more jobs here. We're losing our people to our other states. We're losing our people to other states like Texas. Just like every resident, I do want to make sure it's absolutely safe, he said. I have been called a lot of learning myself, and I think that there's a lot of very intelligent people who are putting all of this together. I believe in private property rights, Jules said. The state would be the ones to work with them on eminent domain issues. But there's a whole bunch of factors that play into that, and there are an entire judicial process that is involved as well. Okay. Let me go back to the top. Parish president, this is the title of the or Parish president says CCS projects will protect jobs, secure economic growth of the parish. I didn't hear anything about protect the people. I didn't hear anything about protect people. I didn't hear anything about the health, safety, and protection of the people. Did you all hear anything about the people, or did you really hear about something other than the people? Protecting jobs and talking about economic growth and development. That's what we want to hear from you. Becca, as a part of this arm, was
Hey y'all, good evening. I'm back in Gopher. I didn't want to talk about it and actually just really intense anxiety, but I think both was our beer the truth. So May did with food. Is it gonna be good? The recorder who wrote this article, she contacted me 2 weekends ago in a last minute rush because she wanted this out to Monday. And we're actually going on a swap for it. So I did my best to answer the questions. Like she so this is started on Facebook. Joel had made a post in favor of CCS. I was actually having a capital with my husband and my mother on Tuesday for that legislative debate. So I was over there. Two of our parish reps were also there. Michelle Daniels and multiple EA were there as well. That is online, by the way. Do anybody do that? I highly recommend you do. My husband and I try to keep up with all that stuff. So we were there to show our support. We got there when we could on disabled. We got there kind of late in the evening. We weren't able to be there all day. One person I didn't notice was Nephew Joel. She was on attendance. So on his Facebook post, I actually pointed out that a lot of what he was claiming in his post was literally being disproven during that legislative meeting, and that he wasn't there, but our other two reps were there. And you guys see them all. My husband runs Bloggy, which is a website that is attempting to share actual factual information, not just what these CCS companies want you guys to think about their company, but like stuff that permit information. For example, stuff that are recorded engineers has released, for example, people's comments during the LGBTQ hearings, that kind of actual factual information. And I guess according to the emails that I exchanged with Maiden, that kind of got under President Q's skin. So she sent me a bunch of questions. They kind of assume that I am the one Melissa. I thought that how my artist and the heart educator to St. Paul's Parish Library. I dug a background in environmental science still, and I thought it was like oil engineer. So as you'll be seeing this game, also developed Sjogren's syndrome, which the model uses after living in Europe for leaders. So, and my whole family has had some form of cancer. So I definitely do have a best pictures. And what I told Megan was that the most people's concerns that I saw from attending the meeting, from attending the LGBTQ Kyereh, was health issues. Cancer, ROU, infertility, miscarriages, the huge negative health impact in Santa Mark Parish. That did CCG really share in a article. Also kind of corrected where we were getting our information about where these wells are supposed to be going to be. That information came from permits from
Army Corps of Engineers.
Army Corps of Engineers, right? They refer to it as the Lake Salvador Project. I'm sorry if that is incorrect. Then our parish government needs to notify us of where these projects are going to be. Otherwise, we're going to go by what is permits. That's it. I'm not happy about the article because I sent it either weekend, researching things, linking things, asking her to talk to Kimbrelle, asking her to go to Jones runs by Bloggy, that's on me. Asking her to walk to Mr. Reverend Hartloo, Miss Willa, any of those people. I don't know let she talk to any of them, so I'm really kind of disappointed in the heart. But what I was told but had not seen is that this is going to be part of a series of articles that are all going to hear one on this project. So what I would really like you guys to do is not only continue expressing your concerns to President Joel, because obviously it did go into saying something. Perhaps we can get them to come to these meetings and actually listen to the community's health concerns. But also please consider emailing a Yellow Guide and requesting that they continue pursuing this topic. One of the things I was really afraid of, because this could make me a target, I really bad anxiety. I don't want to get target. Especially because if you go to actuals, the Facebook posts that pop out, they have a lot of support from people in our parish. Thanking him for how educated he was. Thanking him for putting the time into researching this. 100% trusting that his word is honest. And we really do not agree on this topic, so I put very different people. I wasn't going to say that there. So there's a lot of people in this parish who are going to just trust what our parish individuals tell them and not attend meetings like this, or the LDEQ meetings, or even watch the police. I'll report these meetings. I report these meetings. These meetings are available for people to educate themselves with, and they're choosing logic. So I wanted to kind of tell you guys the other side of the article, because it didn't get run. I'd be sharing my responses, not to like out Megan Chewy so article, but it's still a lot of time and care, effort that Joseph and I put into responding to her and to linking our sources and providing good facts to the best of our knowledge, information backed by government sources. that just didn't seem to make it to the paper. That's frustrating because people read the Herald Guide who are not going to use edicts. People read the Herald Guide who have not watched the legislative readings, right? So they have the opportunity to really help educate the public about a very real concern that is facing our parish. And I sincerely hope they will actually pick up that mantle because as cute as all the pictures of other people's children are when they buy those, this is more important. And I'm so tired, and I need this in a heartbroken way, of seeing children with cancer on a front cage. I want to do better for the kids in our parish. So I hope you guys will help me. It's a little bit fresh on our lives to continue pursuing this topic and sharing information with the people of St. Paul's Parish. So thank you for getting me used to baking.
Thank you, Becca. And I was reading the article while we were talking. I just wanted to say something really quick, which is over the next couple of days, you actually have a couple of research scientists that are coming down here to Louisiana to meet with a lot of the environmental organizations that are doing, and not just environmental organizations, but community organizations that are doing this work. And these scientists are here to talk about the fact that all of the investigative and research science shows that CCS doesn't work. And it shows that we are going to be paying our money to be some beast or something that is not safe and it does not work or is intended to use. I actually also don't consider myself an environmentalist. I consider myself a Louisianian. And I would like the generation behind me to be able to grow up here as I did and 5 generations before me and my family that are very against and cemetery humorless. I would like my opinion to keep living here. And if we don't do something to stop this, we're not just going to be suffering autoimmune disease. We're going to literally lose our name. We're going to lose our homeowners insurance. We're going to lose our ability to live here. And that's what I worry about.
Thank you, and thank you to everyone who came out. Please don't let this be your last time. We have a lot of great information that we're bringing to our community. We are Refined Community Empowerment Incorporated, and our mission, very simply, is to educate, uplift, and empower individuals and communities to advocate for themselves and for our brothers. So, have you educated? Have you want education to you? Raise your hand, please. Thank you. Thank you. Not just today, right? Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for those of you who have been coming out. Those of you who came out tonight. Uplift and be uplifted and be resources to the community. Okay. And empower, giving you platforms to express yourself, a public hearing, these meetings, we welcome you to share your experiences. No, we're looking for people who are willing to be. We want to hear what your experiences are living here in St. Modes. So that is very important to this fight. It's a struggle. It's very important that people know that you are suffering in their home and in a community agree in these crises. First of all, they need to know how close these tanks are to your homes. They also need to know that there is a threat of more environmental harm and that you do not want it in your neighborhood. So that is very important. I will be reaching out to you, and I'm hoping and I'm praying that you will allow us to come in and interview you. Have other people who are interested in hearing this story. We want you to tell your story. And take us to Reverend Art. He could not be here on tonight. Of course, he sends his mom, and we hope to see him next time. Can I have someone volunteer, Deacon, to close us out in a prayer?